Welcome to our Mobilizing Leadership production of Living Leadership. This series works from the premise that leadership is not a title, but a mindset. Filmed in one take, it explores how people navigate beyond the status quo and captures their insights on what leadership looks like across their work, life, and community. The Discovery Whiteboard session is facilitated by Stuart Morse, and we welcome our guest. Well, we're here for another interview of Living Leadership, and today we are here with Kevin Anderson. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me on, Stuart. My name is Kevin Anderson. I'm the Director of Operations for AG Rocky Mountains here in Denver. We oversee a bunch of venues and a ton of live events.
Oh, that's awesome. So, a lot of times we talk about how leadership's not so much a title, but it's more of a mindset. And how does that... how do you see that living for you through kind of work, life, and community?
Sure, absolutely. So, I first of all, that really resonates with me. I absolutely adhere to it being a mindset, not so much a title.
Right.
I definitely think, in live music, it was something I got into at a very young age, just got really passionate about it early, and it's this beautiful artist expression from the stage, but also the energy from the crowd.
Okay.
I got really into that young and just started to learn everything I could about what goes into producing live events and trying to, learn as many different roles as I could kind of along the way. And I think where that served me well is just kind of gaining a general understanding of the goal and the mission of what we're trying to do.
Okay,
what are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so this goal and mission is so are you saying that's kind of key? Is an element?
You got to have that vision and know what you're trying to get to,
right.
To be able to lead effectively.
Right.
I think the other thing is being completely committed to those goals.
Okay.
So the collective, we got this large group of people coming in. What are they trying to do? It's easy. They're trying to have fun and dance and sing along and have the best night of their lives at the artist they've been waiting to see that they bought a ticket for. So being committed fully to making sure that everybody has a safe time in doing those things is key to it as well.
So when you were commenting that resonates to you as a mindset. So, okay, so if you've got this vision, mission, this goals and mission with the vision and commitment to it. So is that just with you or everyone involved, or how does that leadership mindset then show up in that?
Yeah, so I'm certainly somebody who I would consider myself very committed to what we do,
right.
And something that you definitely need. But yeah, I think in general it's just something that you need to have, and then it's also you need to have a certain level of expertise. You need to know.
Okay.
You need to understand what looks right at a concert, or what probably just about anything. But does this seem safe? Does this seem like a good idea? Does this help us achieve our goals of everybody having a safe event?
So you've mentioned a couple of times this idea of safe. Tell me more about how this plays into it. This idea of, well, my spelling goes to the heck on a whiteboard, but this idea of safety. So what I'm hearing you say is, okay, if you have commitment, you need expertise. So I imagine, like we would call subject matter experts. You've got to understand the context of how you even you can be committed. You got to have the knowledge to be able to.
That's exactly right. You got to have that strong knowledge base first.
Right. So safety for everyone involved. Tell me a little bit more about that. Is that the audience, or is it also the whole team? And
it's a little bit of everybody, and that's safety comes in just about everything we do, whether that's how people enter the building, what they're allowed to bring, those kind of things, but also how we load a case onto the stage. So it's our people working, and there can be dangerous things in anything that we do.
Right.
So just kind of always having that lens and making sure we're doing things appropriately to not get anybody hurt or injured.
So when you think about when you think about everyone, all the people involved, right? That you're trying to get everybody aligned with this, getting commitment. What does alignment start to look in this? Across your team, or the people who are involved in trying to create this whole safe environment for folks.
Yeah, so I think the people that kind of stand out are the ones that have the expertise, but also have this that commitment to serving the greater good of the goal that we're trying to do is put on this show in a safe manner, and It kind of really, those two things need to tie into each other. You got to know what you're doing, but you also got to, not do it for the wrong reasons. Do it because this is what makes sense. This is what will be.
So
the
this thing
safest.
is all kind of fueling and creating this.
I think
It's
they're
swirling around and here and
connected.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And then, with the commitment and expertise, there's also, you need to have the ability to communicate effectively.
Okay. So okay.
So once you've kind of have this knowledge and you know what you're doing and you're fully committed to the cause, you also need to be able to see those issues and communicate them to the team and have everybody. Communication is a two-way street. You got to have this kind of receivership as well and understand that people can comprehend the message you're trying to convey.
So yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit because we talk a lot with leaders. A lot of times it goes. I had a CEO tell me one time that just because you said it doesn't mean they heard it. And this idea,
Absolutely.
and people think a lot of times, well, I communicated it. I sent an email, I told them, but you're going. Sounds like you're going down a little different path here. That this
Absolutely. It's not, to me, communication is not. It can't just say it. It doesn't go as far.
Right.
You got to make sure that message was heard and received and interpreted in the way that you intend it to be.
So what in that moment when that's happening, what are you kind of watching for when effective communication happens in two-way? What are some things that you're kind of watching for in that moment?
Certainly some body language or just other social cues about how the receiver of the message is responding.
Okay.
But for me, what I like to hear is the feedback loop, right? The response to it. So I may give you a message, repeat it back to me. Let me hear what you think I said. And
so it sounds like you're really engaging with that
absolutely,
person in the
it's
moment.
super important to
And
engage.
that would it also be fair to say that you're watching them, you're probably maybe watching yourself not to make assumptions that like,
That's
I'm
right.
just
Yeah,
going to
they-
assume that they heard it. But
Yeah,
it
or
sounds like
understand
you're
that one
really
piece.
checking in with folks.
Absolutely, it's a huge part.
Okay. So a lot of engagement and checking in. So when that's all happening, what are you watching in yourself? This is. So you're trying to you're moving through this, and it sounds like you're by doing this in the moment with folks, you're seeing how this is able to churn because so the vision can be realized. So this is happening. What do you you talk a little bit about what you're watching in them. What are you watching in yourself in that moment? That you're this kind of your self-awareness.
Yeah, I think always understand that people may come from different levels of their expertise or understanding
Okay.
of what they're going on. They may not know everything, so it's always helpful for me to kind of maybe take a step back and really understand what they have going on and in the whole picture, and then how can I help drive them to get to our collective goals.
Okay. So I'm going to write in here different levels. So you're watching this. It sounds like you're.
You can never just assume that everybody knows everything, right? And that's a huge part of it. So,
Or
sometimes being a teacher, that can be a part
Okay.
of leadership as well. But really, I think it's working together towards and staying not above anybody, but it's just like being that voice that everybody can listen to and say, this makes sense. He's saying this in a clear way. This is we're going to do it this way.
So it's we talk a lot about sometimes you're kind of coaching the moment with folks and you said I want to go to this expertise piece that people have different levels of it. Do you find that maybe that sometimes someone feels like they should say that they know or that it's or maybe I should go from a little different angle that it's are you also setting up an environment in that moment that it's okay to say, hey, I don't know?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not knowing is not a bad thing, especially in this industry. I think there's a lot of people that got into it because it's fun and a great place to work, but they don't know everything about the industry, and that's okay. Ask the questions. Where the leaders should give you the information. They should
Right.
strive to educate.
So it sounds like you're setting up an environment to almost like a culture to be able to say, hey, we have to be thinking and questioning and asking lots of questions.
Yeah, does it make sense that we do it this way, or would this way be better? And as different people come in with maybe less expertise, their perspective isn't less valuable, but maybe their idea is absolutely the right one. We're going to operationally change everything we do to kind of make that fit that one little idea. And
so, do you find in this environment that it's constantly kind of evolving?
Always.
I mean, when you talk about it, I'm just thinking that you're bringing all these people into this space, and there's a lot of complexities going on, and so, and it sounded like the sharing of ideas, because we don't know what the absolute way to do it right now is.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of always evolving.
Come over here and add sharing of
Sure.
ideas. Okay.
Yeah, sharing of ideas massively important. And that kind of ties directly into communication too, right? Like that's part of that feedback loop where it's I may have this idea of how we want to do this certain event or this certain piece of an event, and if the team comes to me and says, oh, well, why don't we try it this way? Like, I got to listen to that and hear it and say, okay, well, let's talk about that idea, and does this make sense too? And if kind of a collective agrees, we all say this is going to benefit this show or this meet and greet or whatever it may be, we're going to do that instead,
So that's, well, you already started to ask. I was going to ask, okay, in that moment, people are bringing ideas, and sometimes I imagine somebody can feel pretty strongly about, oh, I'm seeing this. How do you, and then you use the word consensus, how do you start to say, because you have a level of expertise or someone else who may, yeah, that's an idea, but you're probably taking their input and feeding it into a lot of experiences that you had. How do you kind of coach that moment with them that maybe their idea may not work, but they may not fully understand all the aspects of why it may not work, but how do you find that space to say, to that appreciation of bringing the idea and get to the place that maybe the solution is here, but it may not be exactly what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. How do you kind of work through that with folks?
So you'll have to excuse me if I kind of botch this quote a little bit, but I think it's right there. But I think MLK said something about leadership not being so much finding the consensus, but molding it.
Okay.
And I think that always kind of resonated and stuck with me, that it's not like, don't just find the way that it's done, find the right way to do it. And just, we can maybe mold the consensus to say, okay, I know we've always done it this way, but we're going to try it this way, right? And that's what I try to do with our team always, is there's no bad ideas. Bring it to the table. Let's hear it out. Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. And let's try it. Because if it doesn't work this time, we don't have to try it again. So but maybe it does work, or a part of it works, and we're going to have another opportunity. Right. We do a couple thousand shows in a year across all of our things. So we're very busy. We're going to have another chance to do it right. And there's little things that over time we've developed, and that's kind of molding that consensus of our best practices.
So and once again, I'm struggling with the spelling down here, but that's okay. We know what we meant. But this idea. It sounds like you're molding consensus. Would it be fair to say, if I heard you correctly, that you're molding consensus not just in the moment but over time?
Absolutely.
That it's about turning cycles with each other.
Totally. Okay.
Because we talk a lot about that in teams that kind of turn cycles together. And it sounds, what you've created here is this very kind of innovative environment that churns. It's all about, and you mentioned energy a little, early on about. I think you were talking more about the energy from like an audience, from the live performance.
Yeah. For me, even from really young age, I grasped onto that. It was palpable that you've got this thing happening on stage. That's the performance, and certainly they've got the energy up there too, but the energy in the crowd can just feed that energy in a way. I've seen it happen many times.
So what about the energy in the team? When you're doing this,
just as important. We got to almost meet that energy from the crowd, right? So it's not, if everybody's coming into the building to have the best night of their lives, and the staff is down, not feeling it, doesn't want to be there, it's going to impact the experience. We want to provide the best possible customer experience.
Okay.
And provide that place where everybody can have that best night of their lives,
So if I'm hearing you correctly, that that this all, by doing this right, creates an energy level on the team that allows to either match the crowd, or would it be fair to say that it can all of a sudden create an environment that all of a sudden the crowd comes into and goes, wow, this feels a little different.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Okay.
And that's truly what we strive for, is, fostering and creating that place where people feel like they can have that special moment.
Right.
And that memory that will last forever. That's what we are trying to create every night.
And I would imagine that would go for anybody on the team that's involved in this. That this moment's just not about the crowd, but it could be.
It's a full collective.
Do you find that
that
the team feels that too?
Try to, yeah,
Right.
Absolutely. I think they do. I think they take a lot of pride and some ownership of not just the building, but that honing in on that energy, in both ways, and I think they understand and respect the fact that the way that they behave and interact with our patrons can impact the larger feeling of the show.
Right. Does when you do this, does it then, when I'll go back to the initial question of this kind of leadership mindset, is this then creating that leadership mindset across the team, that it's when someone's involved in this, do you find that it all of a sudden instills that in individuals?
That's why that resonated so well right at the top. It's not the title, it's the mindset, right? If we all hold this mindset that we're working towards the common goal, of providing high quality events, it doesn't really matter what title you may have or what position you're in. Let's just all work together and do it. And the leaders will kind of, come in front, and leadership becomes easy, when it needs to be there, right? But
yeah, there was a leader I was speaking with one time, and he talked about this concept of collective leadership. This idea and that was something that he taught to his teams, but that's I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah,
something
I think
like
it's a bit of collective leadership, and I think there's also a part of I won't ever ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
Right.
As a leader, and I think that really builds that kind of collective idea too. It's like, yeah, I'll take the trash out. Let me help you out here. It doesn't matter.
Okay, very good. Is there, as we've drawn this out, is there anything that you would add to this that you think we haven't gotten in here?
I think we touched on a lot of really good, strong leadership stuff for sure, and here in a quick combo. Covered a lot of ground there.
Power of a whiteboard.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, thank you so much.
Stuart, thank
Great
you.
insight.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you to our guest and the Sprint Ahead Mobilizing Leadership people who are collectively working to create leadership for all through shared purpose, connected communities, new opportunities to learn, and action-based leadership experiences. We look forward to hearing your insights. Please connect and move forward with us.